uh, Today we are going to discuss about data flow activity. The next part we have to discuss is about aggregations. Okay. The last time we discussed different other features like derived columns, like filters. Okay, aggregation. Right. So first of all, we should understand what is the meaning of aggregation. So when we have any column like sales, for example, if we are analyzing any data, okay, so that data basically can be analyzed with the help of some measures. So in the entire set of data, for example, if it is a sales data, so if I'm having a sales order, okay, and if I'm having the product for which the sales order is generated, okay, then we have a product type, something like that, whether it is a metal type product or whether it is a plastic type product or so on, product type. Okay, so these are the kind of data. Or you can say we have a unit price, what is the price of that, correct? Then in a simple word we have something known as total revenue. Okay, and we have something known as total cost, like any kind of cost, or manufacturing cost or transportation cost, or you can say profit, right? So if we see this data, we know that what is order ID. If any order is getting placed, okay, the order ID is generated, and according to that order ID, you will receive your item. Okay. So in a simple example, if I talked about any online shopping that we used to do these days, we are having Amazon, Flipkart. There are so many portals we can do the purchasing. So when we are purchasing anything, a PO order is generated for us. The same PO order is actually created for seller, and that become a sales order. So this data will be sent to the seller, and on the basis of this data, the seller can give you the product, deliver you the product, and finally they will maintain their financial book of records. So if we see the table with this data tells that for this sales order, what product is sold, what is the type of the product, what was the unit price of the product, what is the total revenue generated, what was the total cost beared during this entire process, and what is the profit margin. So if I see this data, if you see sales order, product type, right, these are basically known as attributes, and these are basically known as your measures. Okay, and why these are known as measures? Because this first of there are two criteria for defining this on the basis of measure. Okay, measure means it will be a numerical in nature. Okay, this is the criteria number one. Second thing is that your transaction is getting measured with the help of these columns. Okay, so numerical in the nature, definitely it is a numerical, then only it can be measured. Okay, for example, if you're trying to measure my date of birth, my date of birth somehow is also a numerical, right? But can you measure that? No, because my date of birth will change only after 31st of December. It is not, changing entire any day of the, these things. So my age can be calculated with the help of date of birth, correct? But actually, it is not, it cannot be measured like a transactional value. Simple things, we have a unit price. So a unit price, some commodity unit price might be differ. Okay, we can measure the unit price, we can measure the revenue, right? So it should be numerical in nature. This is one characteristics of measure value. And second thing is it is dependent on the transactions. Okay, dependent on transactions. Okay, so I believe this should be clear to you. Now, when we have any measure entity, measure column, you can say in our data, then on the top of that measure quantity, we can perform some kind of action. We can perform like sum, we can perform summation or addition, multiplication, whatever we can do, correct? We can take the average, we can take the maximum, we can take the minimum, and we can take the count. Okay, so these are the elements which you can perform on any of the numerical measured portion of your data, correct? And these functions that we can perform is known as aggregation function. Aggregation function. Okay. Now I'm giving you a very basic example. So if you have learned the SQL, okay, then you would be using this aggregation function, which is known as sum, average, maximum, minimum, count. Okay. Now let's see if I talked about simple things. Okay. Uh, in winters our temperature is decreased, right? Some days it is 2 degrees Celsius, 6 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius, right? So our weather it can be measured with the help of temperature. Is that right statement? Okay. Similarly, if we have rainfall, rainfall can also be measured with the some millimeters or centimeters of the rainfall or snowfall, right? So everything can be measured, right? But if I talked about temperature, correct? If you ask that what is the today's temperature? Oh, okay. If you are in a winters or in summers, right? What is today's temperature? So what you are going to do? Are you going to sum the entire day temperature? No, right? If you sum the entire day temperature, then it will be as equal as your, sun's temperature. Okay, so that's not possible. So we should know that on top of that measure, what action we can perform. For temperature, we cannot sum the temperature. Okay, what we can do for temperature? We can find out the maximum and we can find out the minimum. What is the maximum temperature of the day? What is the minimum temperature of the day? Right? So, in a similar way, we have certain things, where average will work, where count will work, and most of the time sum will work. For example, if I talked about total revenue generated. So here, the sum aggregation functions will be used. Okay, got it? Okay. So, okay, do you have any questions, guys? Okay. Second concept, which is very important for aggregation is, for example, if you have some number of records, for example, if you have a sales order, right? Sales order, you can say 101. Okay. So this is the sales order, and you have a product. You can say the product. You can say like mobile. Okay, you can say iPhone, something like that. Okay, iPhone 15 is your product. Okay, and this is your electronic. The product type is electronics. Okay, so there are some unit prices. So I'm just giving the weird numbers. There is some revenue, this cost, and profit, something like that. I'm just entered a weird number. Okay, now you have another record in the same one, and you are having the same say inside same sales order, right? You are having another phone, okay, and that phone is Samsung. Somebody has purchased, Samsung and iPhone together, Samsung 24s, whatever it is, right? Again, you have the same product type and some numbers, okay, whatever it is, right? And so on. We have another, number of records, okay. You can see we have these many records, and we have some. Okay, leave it. So these are the records. So if I'm going to perform an aggregation, what is the meaning of aggregation here? For example, if I want to know the total sales, if I want to know the total revenue actually, total revenue, and I want to know the total revenue product wise. Okay. So how it will done? First of all, it will sum the entire product. What is the sum? The sum is coming like this. So if I try to calculate the sum like this, okay. So this will become my sum, okay. But it is a total sum. But I need product wise sum. So we have two products actually. In product, how many products you have in this data set? You have only iPhone 15 and iPhone 24s, right? So your data will look like this. So it will give you the product wise total revenue. Okay, the meaning of aggregation is this. And how it will give for iPhone, the total revenue is this. Okay, and for this one, Samsung, what is the total revenue? The total revenue will be, or you can do here itself, is equals to sum. Okay, and you can just, so these are the two records it will give you after aggregation. If you want to see the product wise revenue, so total revenue will become your aggregated column where you have performed sum of total revenue. Okay, and whatever on the basis of which column you want to make this sum will comes under group by column. Group by column. Got it? So for example, for iPhone, so we have only two products. Imagine if we have three products, then there would be three entry, and again this sum will be split according to that entry. So this is the concept of group by. And now if I want to, add some other things like I want to add sales order also, right? Then your sales order will come into picture. Okay. So what's the meaning of group by, aggregation function and group by? So what has done with this example, you have seen that we have actually uh, six records in this table, and out of that six record, it is restricted to two records only based on your group by field. Okay, got it. Now we can practically see this scenario of aggregation functions. Got it. And before we proceed, so let's first create the example. So I'm going to create a new pipeline which will say PL underscore again DF test, data flow test. It's already available, so I'm giving one. Okay. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag here the data flow, and so inside this data flow, it's okay. I have to create a data flow basically. Okay. So if I go there, I'm going to create a data flow. I will hit on source. So the source, okay, this time I'm using the source. I'm having one data which is having a good amount of data so that I can test the aggregation function in length. Okay, and I can go to the containers. I can see input. So input, I'm having this data, right? 1000 sales record.csv data. Fine. So for this, I am having my data set ready, which is already prepared. So you can prepare. I'm giving more space. So if I drill down here, I can see, okay, ds underscore sales data. So this is the data set. If you want to see the data set, I can open this for you, and you can see it is pointing to the input container, and input container, it is pointing to the same file 1000 sales record.csv, right? So in input container, we have this files, right? So I have used this ds underscore sales data. Got it? So the rest of the options are fine. I'm going to check the data in the data preview section. So remember, before checking the data, your data flow debug option should be enabled. So that, yeah, I have enabled it for 1 hour, so I can see the data, you know, in this section. Okay, so let's wait for some time. So guys, in the meanwhile, it's taking longer time. So let's create the next step. So you can see you have multiple input output. So we are here as of now, we are under the part of schema modifier. What is the meaning of schema modifier? It means that whatever data you are getting loaded from any schema, so you can modify that data. So you can drive the column. So we have seen multiple options to drive the column with the help of string functions, date functions, and so on. So obviously our data has come now. You can see you have good amount of data. So only 100 entries are shown at this point of time, right? Because you are just seeing the data. So obviously there is a setting inside this Azure, so it will not show everything, because the sample of data will come to you. Fine. So it is having all the columns. You can see the columns like region, country, item type. This is sales channel, order priority, order date is there, right? And we have order ID is there, ship date, unit price, and you can see total revenue, total cost, and total profit. So you can see measure value. How many measures value we have? We have total profit, total cost, total revenue, unit cost, unit price, unit sales. So these are the measured value, and other columns are basically an attribute column. So I'm having good amount of data to perform my aggregation options here. So I will hit on this plus icon. I will select the aggregations. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to aggregate for total revenue. Okay. And I want to see the total revenue. First of all, what I will do, I will see on the basis of sales channel, because I know we have only two sales channel available. Okay, so that it will make more sense to you. So first of all, I will go to aggregate. Okay, and let's hit on this plus icon. Oh, okay, add column. We can add here the name of the column. So I can say total revenue, something like that. Total revenue. Okay, got it. And I will hit on this open expression builder here, right? I will hit on this one and it will open. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to sum this. Now, very interesting thing is the here, if you see, right? Everything is under ABC. ABC stands for string. And why it is coming? Because I have not converted this into decimal or any numbers, right? So first of all, if the what is ideal approach? Ideal approach is before doing any aggregation, you should have your data type converted into decimals and or maybe integers or float or whatever, right? It should be converted in those things. But I have not done that, so I'm not going to do this. I can do this here itself. How I can do this here? With the help of typecast functionality. So we have something known as typecast expression. So I discussed in the previous sessions that we can typecast it, right? We can use two decimal concept. Okay. So what it will do? It will convert your ABC string into decimal, right? Simple. So what we can do is we can add our total revenue. This is the total revenue inside it. And now this total revenue is converted into two decimal. And now the entire sum I want, the sum of total revenues. Okay. So it will simply perform my sum activity. Okay. The way we have done it here, right? It will do like this. It will sum everything. Okay, whatever columns we have for total revenue, it will sum like this, and this value should come. But when I have to do a group by, because group by is must, you cannot perform this without group by. So in group by, no column is selected, right? So if I select sales channel, basically, right, we can select any of the column. If you see how many columns we can select, any of the column we can select, right? But I'm going to select sales channel. And why I'm going to select sales channel? Because I know we have only two sales channel available. So we would be able to demonstrate the concept of aggregation. So if you see the sales channel, we have either offline or online, offline or online, offline or online, something like that. Okay. And I'm having my data opened here also to showcase you the concept of, this thing. The same data is opened in the Excel file so that I can show you the results as well, whether it is producing a right result or not. Okay, so in group by I have added only one single entity, which is sales channel. Now I'm going to display this here. So it's a simple calculation method you are going to achieve this. Okay, so here you go. You can see for offline this is the value, and for online this is the value. Okay, got it. So so that only two records. So you can see 1,000 records is now converted into two records. This is the power of aggregation, right? So that's the reason aggregation is very much required, but it is recommended to do all the filters before aggregations. Okay, and If you want to, but only two output column will be generated. But what else? If you want to put, there are 14 columns, but you have selected only two columns out of that 14 columns. Okay, in aggregation. So I just showcase you this concept. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more columns here. So what will be the impact? For example, if I add region, okay. So for example, if you see, first of all, let's just see. This is the all offline and online. Okay. So in a simple word, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a pivot to test this data. Okay. You know how to create a pivot. So I inserted as a pivot. Okay. I selected this entire data, 1,000 records in Excel. I will hit on OK. And here I can check my of this one. Okay. And I will sum my total revenue like this. You can see this value is coming here. If you see, same value is coming 7756. Okay. So there could be a two place of decimal, because of that reason it is not matching apple to apple, but let's try to do this. Okay, number format. In this I can go to, okay. So because it is one place of decimal, that's why it's not showing, but yeah, you can see here, right? 7677. Okay, 77. And if you put here, it is 56. It is 56, right? So exactly it is matching. Now you got it? Okay. What will happen if I add here region? Let's add region also. You can see this region is all also added here. Okay. So if you want to see this wise region, uh, region like this, okay, something got disturbed. In the same way, if I add region here, let's add region. What is going to do? Aggregate setting. I will add region. Now this 1,000 entries, I'm going to refresh this. Now added with more number of lines, because for every region, how many regions first of all we have? Let's suppose we have 10 regions and there are two sales channels. So 10 multiplied by 2, there will be 20 records like this. I'm giving a hypothetical example to you, right? So here we can achieve our aggregation function in this manner. You can see there are 14 records now total, because we have 7 regions and every region we have offline, online. There are two different things, correct? That's the that's the point of concept. Now, if I add everything, what will happen? You will get all the data, you know, as it is. So there are only, right now we have only three columns. Why three columns? Because I have added only two things like region and sales channel, and total revenue is there. I want to add some more, aggregation functions. Like I want to, no, this time I have done only for total revenue. I want to find out the maximum price or minimum price or maybe count. Okay. So I want to add count of records. Very interesting. Count of records. So how it will be done? Okay, I will hit on this expression builder. I can go to the count, and because count is any, right? So I can first click on count, and within this count, uh, I can count order ID, because order ID is a unique. But remember, order ID is again ABC, so that is also not correct. So what I should do, I should convert this order ID into integer, right? So what I will do, I will convert into integer like this, correct? And this order ID I will put inside. Maybe I can remove from here, and I will hit here and I will put it inside this, right? So if I click on save, it will give me the count this time. Okay. So it will give me the count on the basis of two things. You can see, uh, you can see North America online and offline, right? So for North America, if I see the count here, if I see the data here, let's see the data. So let's filter the data. So side by side, I'm validating the data as well. So if you see right now, we have 1,000 records. And if we go with the region, and I am going to talk about North America, right? So how many records we have for North America? If you see count here, there are 19 records are there in North America, correct? But if I want to filter once again for online and offline, for offline, let's see. So for offline, how many records are there? There are 7 records are there for offline. Sorry, 8 records are there for offline. Okay. So if you see of North America offline, North America offline, this is the North America offline. So you can see 8 records. Similarly, if I go and, check for North America online, right? So it will give me how many records? 11 records. And the same you can cross check here itself, right? So this aggregation is working fine. Aggregate, agreed? Okay. Now, so apart from aggregation, we can do some more things like we can use max min also, we can use average also. So let's do that fastly, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a maximum profit, okay? And we'll see how it works. Maximum profit, you can say, okay? And I can open the expression builder this time. Again, I will go to the maximum profit and I will use max function, right? But do you think max function will work here? Ideally, it will not work because in temperature, maximum temperature can work. But for every record, only one value will come because it will search from entire 1,000 records. For example, let me show you how it will work. So I'm going to clear the filter, okay, and this is the profit, okay. So out of these 1,000 records, see, I cannot see any, all the records and find out which is the maximum one because there are 1,000 values, right? From my naked eyes, I cannot do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put maximum, and this again I have to typecast this. So there is a no need of typecast, guys, for you if you are doing it before generating these aggregation functions. If you're putting a drive column and doing the typecast, you can do that. Okay. So to decimal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put total profit. Okay. So here we have the total profit. So I can save this. I can save here also, and I can see the data now. I can refresh this. So as much as columns I'm going to add, this is increasing. So you can see we started from 3 columns or 2 columns. Now it is 5 column because I'm keep on adding the, aggregation functions also. So you can add aggregation functions or you can add group by also, but that is totally depend on your requirement, how you want to represent the data. Okay. So we have to wait for this to refresh. So you can see we got the maximum profit on the basis of sales and region. What is the maximum profit? Okay. For example, let's see only for North America and offline method because we have only 8 records to see. So we can see at least, okay, what is the maximum profit for these 8 records. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter once again for North America. Okay, here, and I'm going to filter for offline. Okay. So we have total 8 records here, which you can see. And out of these 8 records, what is the maximum value you are able to see? This is the maximum value you are able to see, right? This is the maximum value. And the same value you can see, it is tagged, the maximum profit is tagged for North America offline is this 552441 decimal 18. So same value is there, right? So this is producing the right results. So max is done. Similarly, you can do a min, and similarly you can do an average. Okay, got it? So I'm not going to cover other things, but you can practice this by yourself. This is very easy. Okay, and as much as column you are adding in group by, that column will be available in the output. So if you want to save this, or you want to, for future use, you have to always go for a sync option, and then you can publish your changes. So I'm not going to do that right away, or let's do this to wrap up. Okay, I will go to sync, and in this sync I can again create an ADLS Gen 2 data set. I will generate the file in CSV, and I'm going to generate with you can say uh, ds underscore df test1 output, something like that. I can select my link services, and I can select the. Okay, so this option I need to enable it. I can enable it for 1 hour, again 60 minutes. Okay, so you can see now it is done. So I can select my root folder. Okay, so now I can go for ABC out 4. Oh, no, no, I cannot use this. Sorry. I can use a normal folder output. Let's do it for output. Okay, I will hit on OK. I can give a data flow output, something like that. Data flow output. That's the name of the file I am giving. I'm not importing any schema. So I'm going to click on OK, and that's done, right? So what I'm going to do is parameter. Okay. So it is asking for a parameter. So let's create a parameter, something like that. Test. Sorry. Test. Okay. And default value is true, something like that I have mentioned. Okay. So if I click here, everything is fine. I can debug this. I can click on OK. This is triggered now. So you can see 1,000 records is now converted in I think 14 records. Okay, with all set of information. So this is the power of aggregation, right? So whatever reporting you want to generate, you can do that by creating the data set by yourself at the backend, and the same data can be used for reporting. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete, then we'll see the results. So now it is succeeded. So we can see our output container. This is the output container we have. And if you see on 1st of January 2025, which file has generated? Oh, this file has generated. Okay, this one. So if you go to this file, check the data, you can see there are 14 entries, and you are having everything like total revenue, count of records, maximum profit. This is what you have, you are trying to generate. All right. So I believe this would be more clear with this example of, aggregation part. Thank you.